Hey, everybody.
Welcome everybody to day 2 of boot
Day
camp
two boot camp, baby.
with
Admissions
our
day.
special guest superstar presenter, Joe K.
Okay. Yep. We're lucky to have him. You guys, this guy's got a tall task today, taking on all of admissions, largely by himself. But you guys are actually going to be playing a role as well. We want today to be even more interactive than yesterday, and we're going to do. Yesterday we really did, I think, all the questions in Q&A, right? Which is, we'll still do a ton of that today, but we're going to do some live and in color as well. So this is a great opportunity to bring your questions to the forefront here. A couple of things, kind of housekeeping things before we kick off. If you did not do so already, our kind of main CTA, what at a minimum, there's two things that you have to do if you attend this boot camp. Book some time to just talk with us one on one, right? Because most of the questions we get, how should I value my home? Should we send the SAT scores or the ATC scores or not, right? These types of questions. Book some time with us. I just put a link in the chat. Book some time with us, and you can learn. Here's the best way that we can support you moving forward. I'll talk more about that at the end. Um, but arguably, even more importantly, and I see that most of you have already done this, which is great. And I'm sure you're better for it, at least according to the feedback that we've gotten. Set up your MyCap account. Okay. Peg already put this link in the chat. I will put it in here again. Guys, this is your cheat code, right? If you were here yesterday, there's no excuse why you don't know what your federal SAI is. There's no excuse why you don't know exactly how much any school, let's see, who we were just talking about in the green room, University of Chicago, right? Any school in the country, we're going to tell you exactly what your family's going to pay. Okay. Yes, they're 98,000, but according to this family, they're going to pay, or based on this specific family, they're going to pay 57,000, right? 58,000. Joe K is going to go through a lot of this admission stuff today, right? And, we have a lot of the information in here for every school. Here's their average test scores. Here's their average GPA. Here's their acceptance rate, right? Are they test optional or not? Okay. And then you can also use the platform to filter schools, right? You can just go say, hey, I want to see schools that are, 4-year institutions that are small schools, and I want them to be in well, let's say we want to be in a certain region. I want to be in the Mid East here, and I want to just go sort those by who's going to give my kid the most in scholarships. And we're going to instantly rank order those, right? And again, or just go show me who's best with need-based financial aid. We're going to instantly rank order those. So, and you can have this working list of schools and will instantaneously tell you, okay, is this are you going to get good ROI here? Right. So again, this is your cheat code, guys. If you haven't done it, set up your account now, pay the $5 to upgrade so you can put unlimited schools in here and, use this search feature as well. But as Joe's talking today, and we're thinking about this admission strategy, you're going to want to type in some actual schools and say, well, what is the average test score here? What is the average GPA? How are they with financial aid and scholarships, right? So if you haven't done that already, take the 2 minutes, do it right now. I'll do a quick introduction of Joe K, and then Peggy, you can say hi again for those folks that, you know what, I'll start with me. Because for those of you that are new that weren't able to join yesterday, my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm one of the founders here at College Aid Pro. My sweet spot is really on the affordability side of the fence, financial aid, scholarships. How the heck am I going to pay for this thing? Where am I going to get a good ROI? How do I make sure that I'm not overpaying, right? And maximizing discounts regardless of my family's situation. I've been doing this for 20 years. So, collectively, right, with the group of the three of us and our wider team, we just have a ton of experience in this world. Now, Joe K is somebody that I personally recruited because he's somebody that I don't want to give you too much credit, Joe. I was going to say admired you from afar. That's probably, whatever a word is a little bit below that, or
Be a little creepy.
yeah, right, right, right. So if there's a word, there's a, slightly below that, but he was someone I respected. Let's say that respected his experience in this space. And I just like the fact, always a big draw for me is somebody that's been on both sides of the desk, right? This is somebody that's been, a college counselor, one of the most prestigious high schools in New York City. So I kind of know what it takes to work at schools like that. He's got a ton of organic relationships with colleges and admissions directors all over the country. So our team relies on his expertise and connections an awful lot. And he's just worked on the front lines with so many families over the years, both kind of on the high school level and privately. So you guys will kind of see what he's all about shortly here. But Peggy, you want to introduce yourself quick, and then we'll get rolling.
Yeah, I'm the director of education here at College Pro. My background's in the financial industry, so I'm really a financial planner at heart. That's what I was doing before I shifted and solely focused on this. I have twins that are long done with college, so that's what kind of brought me into focusing on this and leaving my old world behind. So I get it. I get it from the parent perspective. It's a lot. Matt says, we all say, it's your kids and your money, right? And they're going to be leaving. So it's a wonderful time. It's a melancholy time. So we're happy to show up and guide you. Like Joe understands all these pieces on the admission side, and then our other experts, including Matt and myself, we get the financial piece. There's the academic, personal, some people call it social fit, and then there's also the financial. And it's a win-win when you look at all three together. Not focusing on admission and then saying, uh-oh, we can't afford these. So that's why we're doing the boot camp like this. We're covering everything. So
Make sure, guys, stick around to the end. We're giving away the scholarship live at the end. So it's $1,000 scholarship that we are giving away live at the end. We got this cool little Wheel of Fortune thing. You guys will see exactly how we'll do it. You maximize your odds of getting in there if you stay on live. Any live registrants get extra entries,
and
so to speak.
yeah, and housekeeping, and we already got the question. Yes, you will get the recording from today and yesterday. And we're gonna do, Joe wants to make this super interactive, and we thought that was a great idea. So put your questions not in the chat, put them in the Q&A. Matt and I are going to be all over them. We're going to look for common threads. We're going to look for questions that are awesome, and we're just going to throw them out to Joe as he's presenting to kind of have some interaction here. So don't be shy, put in your questions, and well, because Matt and I probably can't answer a lot of them. So we want Joe to be answering them as he's presenting, and it kind of breaks it up and keeps things lively. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen with Joe's content here. There you go, Joe.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the introductions, you two. Appreciate that. And thanks for everyone joining us today. I am Joe Korfmacher. I live in New Jersey, and we're in that weird time of year right now that the kids are not in school yet. No, there aren't any camps around, so it's a little crazy. So anyone on the East Coast, I know you're feeling the same way, but 2 more weeks, we'll get there back to school and things will get back to normal. So hang in there. My background, real quick, super quick overview, and then we'll get right into it. I've been doing college advising since 2009. I spent a little over 10 years at two different private high schools, one of which I was the director of college counseling at a private all-boys school in Manhattan, and then spent a few years at another private company that helped families one-to-one through the advising process. And I ran my own essay boot camp in New York City for about 6 years, which was a blast, helping rising seniors figure out what they want to write about, and work through different parts of the application. And I really am a college admissions nerd. It's been my whole career. I have an 8 and 5-year-old right now and can't wait for them to get into high school, and I can see how I do as a parent and a college advisor. And yeah, just something I really love. So, and I give a lot of presentations, and I understand, there's going to be a lot of content here. I'm going to give a high level overview on a lot of this stuff. Please, ask some questions, and Peggy and Matt, if there's any good ones, just stop me, blurt them out, and we'll answer them live. I think that'll be, the most fun and enjoyable and more informative for everyone. But let's get into it. So I'm going to start with, kind of building a list and what that looks like, and whether you're, a parent of a senior, junior, sophomore, freshman in high school right now, we're all kind of going towards that same goal. And that's finalizing a list of about 10 to 14 schools. When I started this, it was really like 8 was the number that we wanted to, but it has grown. And the number one reason it's grown is because of the cost of college and the admissions numbers have gone down. It's gotten more competitive across the board to get admitted into college with more and more students around the world and the country applying. We'll see what happens this year. There's some things going on in politics, as we all know, that may change the numbers a bit. But as of now, it's been competitive, more competitive each year since I've been doing this for the last 16 years, and college has become more expensive. So I always say to my families, widen the net as much as possible. You should be in that 10 to 14 range. It can be, it can be a lot, applications, essays, all that. But to put yourself in the best position, and my job here as a counselor and College A Pro, we want you as a family to feel really like at the end of this process, spring of senior year, you have the college that's right for your son or daughter. And what that includes is the right school, academic, financial, social, and where it's located. All right. So it's not just the major that they have, but will they thrive there socially? Is it their people? And the location, it matters as well. And the financial piece, obviously, a College A Pro is something that is extremely important to us, and we get into a lot. We believe, I tell every family this, I believe in the value of a college education. I still do. I don't think that any family or student should go into crazy debt or spend your life savings on a college degree. So we got to find that financial fit as well. Academic balances. So I'm sure most of you, especially if you're parents of seniors or juniors, you've heard the term target safety reach. What does that mean? Really, it's building a list that is a nice balance of that. I've had students in the past that come to me with 10 schools that are all Ivies plus, so 60 Ivies, Duke, Stanford, U Chicago, Vanderbilt, and it's like, and they're a 4.0 student, 1550 SAT, president of, 10 clubs, all that. It's still a high reach for everyone. And that's not a good move. So I always make sure that, my goal and your goal as parents, make sure that your student has 2 to 3 targets, 2 to 3 safeties or likely schools that they really like, that they could see themselves at. You don't just throw on a school that you're going to get into because that may be the only school you do get into. So every school in that final list of 12 to 14 or so schools should have a few likely target schools on there. So we'll go on to the next one. Financial balance, talk about that. It, may be important, for, some families, the price doesn't matter. It's really just about the name of the school, and they're okay with taking out loans or going to a little debt. For them, that's important. For others, it's all about finding the right college where they can go with zero debt. We of course believe you should avoid that as much as possible, and that's why we exist at College A Pro. But want to make sure that, again, to me, when you're building that list of colleges, you have a few schools on there, and for, say if you're middle or upper income, you want to have some schools on there that your student is above their, academic standards, and that we know are pretty sure they're going to get a merit scholarship to bring that cost down. And if you are, if you're lower income, you have the chance at financial aid as well, grants that can, bring it down. But regardless, you want to work with your school counselor or your advisor or someone at College A Pro to make sure that there's a handful of schools on a list where that cost is going to be, pretty low for you. And then in, spring of senior year, you can look at all the colleges you've gotten into and decide what's the best for your family. I do want to just mention one thing at the bottom there. A lot of people obviously think of the, tuition and the room board. Those are the big pieces. Those are the ones that, some schools are 100,000 plus a year right now. really important to remember that applying to college is kind of expensive. And application fees, just applying to a school, a lot of schools now are anywhere from 50 to $100 per school. I had a student many years ago who applied to 40 schools, 45 schools, and his bill ended up being like a few $1,000 that he paid just to apply to college. So we want to minimize that. One thing you can always do, and I recommend this, um, have your child email the admissions office and just ask them, say, hey, I'm applying to your school, really excited. It could be really helpful if you give me a fee waiver. A lot of times they'll write back, they'll give you the code. And in the Common App, which we'll talk about a little bit later, a lot of the colleges will say if you have a fee waiver code, put it in here. You can just put that right in there, and it'll save you a bunch of money once you add up all the schools. And test submission fees, this is worth the time to Google. There's a list. If you just Google, what colleges require that you send the scores from the testing agency, because it costs about like $12 a pop to send the scores. A lot of schools now will just whatever you put in the Common App, they're going to just take that at face value, and it doesn't cost anything. You just put the score on the Common App, and if you end up getting into that college and attending, then they will ask you to send the official score just to verify it. But that can end up saving you a lot of money as well. All right. So when you're building that list, what's important for students. Obviously the academic interest should be at the top, but to be honest, a lot of students don't know what they want to do, and that I tell my students that I work with, it's okay. The number one, Matt, do you know the number one um, major for incoming freshmen is?
Computer science.
I'm gonna guess undecided.
Peg, that's why you're the best. It's undecided. And most colleges will have for like when you're on the Common App saying what major would you like to apply for, they'll have an undecided, whether it's arts and sciences maybe undecided or business undecided. So they have that. Totally fine. If your son or daughter doesn't know, you're gonna have friends that are like, yes, I want to be a computer science major, um, or a geology major. Great. Most of the time, students will change their major anyway in college. But obviously, academic interest, especially if you want to be something like a nurse or an aerospace engineer, you want to find colleges that actually offer that. Not every school does. That's one, obviously, the big one. But the other ones, they're just as important because, your son or daughter will be at this school for 4, maybe 5 years, and a lot of times they're living on campus. So it's not just a major, but everything else there. So location, do they want to have a student that wants to stay in New Jersey? Is only applying to 5 schools in New Jersey. She doesn't want to leave Jersey. I have others that don't ever want to see New Jersey again and are looking at the West Coast, California, all that. You got to factor in flights and everything. Size of school, they vary. Schools, that are, 500 students that may be smaller than a lot of high schools that are up to your Texas A&M that are 60,000 that are big, small cities for college, and they will impact your experience greatly. If you're at a small school, you're going to know most of the people pretty soon. And if you're at a big school, you may walk to, class and see someone new every day. It's going to be different. Are they in the middle of a city? Are they in the middle of nowhere? Are they near a city? It impacts their daily life. NYU, you walk out of class and you're just like any other person in New York City in the West Village there. If you go to Middlebury, it's going to be about 2 hours until you find your first big town, but you do have your own ski mountain that Middlebury students get, which is pretty cool. So, all that matters. And then of course the extracurricular interests, if you're an athlete, if maybe you're a D3 lacrosse player, does that school have that? And what's the social atmosphere there? If you know that your daughter wants to go in the sorority, I want to make sure they have that. If they want to be at a school that's a little bit, quote unquote, let's call it like, just nerdier and kind of noses in the books, That's, important too. And you want to make sure that you're finding the schools that are right. So once they get there in fall freshman year, they stay there. You're not doing this all over again as a sophomore.
Hey, Joe, let me just throw out a couple questions that were kind of around well, if you're undecided, could you miss out on scholarships? Could
Mm,
that affect your admissions?
mm.
And that's going to
Yeah,
be school by school, I think, for some of
completely.
them.
Yeah,
You want to
completely.
just speak
Yeah.
to that for a minute?
Yeah, completely school by school. I'll start with scholarships. And to be honest, for the most part, when you're applying for scholarships at schools, at colleges, they're usually a little bit more general. So just, maybe it's an honors program to get in, and you get a scholarship with that, or a presidential scholarship that's, usually a really big one, or just a general, maybe
Yeah,
$10,000
and
scholarship.
remember, all those scholarships are under the schools in our software. So you'll see all those that what Joe's talking about.
Yeah, and they rarely have any connection or correlation to major. There are absolutely colleges that will have a specific, maybe like a women in STEM scholarship, and you have to apply. St. Joe's University, shout out to the Hawks. That's where I went. They have I think one or two full rides that they offer for uh, girls and or women in STEM. But for most part, they're not connected to a major. And for getting in, yeah, some schools it is, actually can be a little bit more competitive to get in if you're undecided. Penn State's one school that, at least in my experience, has been a little tougher if you're undecided. A lot of colleges want to, they're trying to fit students into the right programs or, have the right amount of students in business versus engineering. So it can be harder. Others, it can be easier. So, but it is definitely a school by school basis for sure. Next slide. Yeah, and super. We'll go through this very quickly, but we talked about the big things in the last slide. One thing I always, talk to my students about, like what is a big school? What does that mean? Small school? If you're at a big state school, probably for the first couple of years, you're going to be in lecture halls where, it's going to be one of, 200, 300, 400 students. The professor's not going to know your name. Some of the classes are going to be taught by a TA. And it's real, doesn't even matter if you go. You can just show up for the midterm and the final. Um, Smaller schools, from day one, you're going to be in a classroom of about 20, 25 people. Class participation matters. The teacher will know you, all that. The big schools, once you get into your major, junior, senior year, the class sizes will get smaller. But if you're someone that, you really want, you do well when the teacher knows you, you participate. That's how you get your, grades up. The first couple of years at Ohio State, may not work for you. So something to think about. Who are teaching who's teaching classes? Is it mainly TAs or is it the professor, the full-time professor? And if you really are sure what you want to do, in college, for a major, research the professors. Go in there, go on the academics page for the site, whatever your major is, see who the professors are, look at their background. Maybe that we're in something that you want to get into. Email them, connect with them. And we talked about, location. I always talk about Dallas when people are saying, I'm in New Jersey, but I'm kind of interested in TCU or SMU, but it's in Texas, what we're gonna do. Dallas is one of the, it's a thriving city right now. A ton of Fortune 500 companies are out there and they do an amazing job internships. If you know that, that's going to be important to you, yeah, it's helpful to be, near a city where they have opportunities for internships and maybe you can get a job right out of college. We'll go to the next slide now. Parents, ones on the call here, for the most part, what you're looking at, obviously everything I talked about, is important and it's important for your child. But a lot of times what you should be asking about, which may not be top of mind for your child, um, you know, alumni, super important, what you know, uh, what the connection will look like coming out of college, what the career placement is. And, they'll tell you, oh, 85%, are employed or in grad school or something. Ask Mark, what does that mean? What percent have jobs? what percent have jobs in their fields that they graduated in. What percent are in grad school. Dig a little deeper when you're researching, when you're visiting colleges, kind of, press them. I always say, both you as the parents and as students, this time, as you are building a list, you're in charge. You get to decide what colleges you apply to. You get to decide where you're going to, kind of spend some money and effort to apply to. You don't have to put a college on your list, so you get to decide, make sure you're asking the right questions that are important to you. Are they a co-op school? Northeastern, big co-op program in Boston, Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. Their students, will do 2 or 3, jobs throughout their 4 or 5 years that they're at college, for a semester. They'll get paid. They'll make connections. They will, have the ability to potentially stay with that job when they graduate. Co-op programs are great. And those are 2 schools I mentioned that are like known for co-op, but a lot of colleges, even though they're not like a co-op school, will have co-op programs. St. Joe's University, again, where I went, for any food marketing major, you're going to do 1 or 2 co-ops there. Support services, especially, today's day and age, very important. So what does that look like? What is the access to mental health counseling? If you know that your son or daughter is going to need extra tutoring, what that looks like. Is it easy to get into? Are there a lot of, red tape to get through? And, if your son or daughter, God forbid, needs, has an emergency, what does that look like? So all these things, they're going to be living on their own. They need to be an adult, but you're still a parent and want to make sure they're doing okay. Next slide. All right, this is fun because I just, was just talking to Matt and Peg about a new one. But all right, so this is really for our parents of seniors, and hopefully there's a bunch of you on here are seniors. Either way, but how you apply, there are a lot of different ways, and there's a new one that we get to talk about. So, way back when me and Matt and Peg were applying to college, there really was, 2, maybe 3 ways to apply. Regular decision was the big one, and that still is, and that just means that you can apply before January 1st generally, and you'll find out, around March or so, and then have a couple months to decide where you want to go. Early action is a really popular one. Those deadlines are usually, November 1st to 15th, sometimes December 1st. And there's no commitment there. So, and I always advise my students, if like they're happy with their grades, their test scores, their times of testing, apply to early action. Every school, you just find out sooner. You're going to find out generally late December, maybe January, and it gives you 5 or so months to, visit schools and decide where you want to go. Early decision is not new, but the other ones are. Early decision is a binding agreement. It's helped a lot of my students in the past over, and I've helped, worked with, 2,000 plus students. It's helped a lot of them get into college, the schools that were really selective, and, and they got in because you are committing to that school. A big part of college admissions, and college is a business. We are very transparent about that here at College Aid Pro. Early decision tells the college, if they accept you, you pretty much certainly will be coming. All right. And that helps their yield rate, which is a really important number for colleges when they get ranked and all that. So a lot of schools will utilize early decision. And if you apply there, you get in, that's where you're going. All right. Those deadlines are like early action, November 1st. However, a fairly new-ish,
So I
yeah,
I got a question for you, Joe.
yeah.
So obviously this is all of us, right? Get this question off a lot, especially this time of year, to early decision or not to early decision.
Mm,
When you're presented with that question, obviously it's a case by case basis, and it's, there's not a catch-all answer.
mm,
How do you coach families
yeah,
through that? What's your talk track there?
mm.
And with that, what are you cautioning against?
Yeah. So my first question always is, are you positive if you get into this school, that's where you want to go and you'd be happy giving up any other option? That's one. Then 1A is, how do we feel about, financing the school? How comfortable are we if money is not an issue at all? Like you have your 529 or you just have the money and, wherever you go, you're going to pay full. You don't care. Great. If those are yeses to both of them, let's do it. It's going to help you. It's going to give you a better chance of getting in. If it's I don't know or no to either or both, then it's, red flag. Let's really think about this. And, maybe we need a different strategy for sure. Glenn, I see has the hand up. I don't know if you want to try to, message to see if they want to ask a question, but happy to answer anything they have. I will talk about early decision too. That is same as early decision in that it's binding. So if you get in, that's where you're going to go. But it's later. So it's usually January 1st deadline. It exists for two reasons. One, if your students just need more time. You haven't finalized your list until mid-November. You're taking November SAT, and then you decide, okay, this is where I want to commit to. I'm going to apply, in December. The other is if you apply ED1 to a school and then the second week of December you find out you weren't admitted, you can apply ED2 to another school. And that is a strategy that a lot of my families will utilize. They'll have their first two options. If they don't, and we'll have the applications ready. If they don't get into Duke ED1, we have the Vanderbilt application ready to go for ED2, and we're submitting that in mid-December. There is a new early decision. So this is fun. It's breaking news. Do we have breaking news music here? So, and it's been around for a year, but early decision zero. Early decision zero. If anyone knows what that is, I would love you put it in the chat and we'll send you a hat or something. But only a few schools use this, U Chicago being the biggest one. And it precedes ED1 and 2, and it's only for students who complete any of the pre-college summer programs at that college. So like U Chicago has a lot of pre-college summer programs. They're 2 to 4 weeks, usually on campus there. And what they're saying is if you complete this U Chicago pre-college summer program, you can apply ED0. Only you have the opportunity to do it, no one else. And if you get in, you will become a U Chicago. We can talk for an hour about our feelings on this. It's not what this is for. We won't do that now, but that does exist, and we'll see what happens in the next 5 or 6 years. Last one, rolling admission. I love rolling admission. A lot of some bigger state schools and just some colleges use rolling, and all that means is there's no deadline. So early action, you can apply today or Halloween, and you all will find out in December. Rolling, usually, you apply within 5 to 6 weeks, you'll get a decision. So if you have your list right now, you have 3 or 4 schools that are rolling admissions, do those first. If everything else is in there, and try to get some admits early.
Okay, let me just add one. It kind of double down on your point around early decision, right? Because we get the question multiple times a day, which is a good thing because it's a really important decision. This is different than any other way that you apply. And there's other people besides your family. Joe K knows this, having been a director of college counseling. Your school counselors are going to have to sign off on this agreement as well that says, hey, I'm a third party witness that says if your kid gets into the school, they're going. With that, we're a little bit stronger with our language, specifically around the affordability piece, because anybody that's in our ecosystem doesn't have any excuse for not knowing what the college is going to cost them, right? If you're thinking about going ED in any schools that you're thinking about, go into the software, put your information in, and if it's accurate, you're going to get a very accurate projection. So before you're even thinking about waiting for an offer for a college, you got to know what that's going to look like. And if you're comfortable with it, beautiful, let's go. If you're not, that's probably telling you that this might not be a fit for ED. But again, you guys have the benefit of knowing what any school in the country is going to cost you. What are they going to give you for financial aid, if anything? What are they going to give you for scholarships, if anything? What's your family actually going to pay? So I just want to again double down on your point there, Joe, even though we're completely aligned with how we coach it.
Yep, awesome. And this slide right here, the only thing I'm going to talk here is that last one, that last bullet point, talent. I work, my days right now are 7 hours like in the applications with my students. I see everything. A lot of colleges will offer talent scholarships, so that could be, for uh, art, like drawing or painting. It could be for dance, music. A lot of times it's if you're applying as a, dance major or minor, but a lot of times it's not. It's just like if you have a portfolio or a website with the pictures that you've taken that you want to share, then you can potentially get some money for that. So make sure if you have a child that's an artist or a musician, even if they're not doing that in college, to look at the applications and see if they have that, because there's sometimes scholarships that will come with that. Okay. No, we're kind of jumping around here, but a big question, a huge question we get all the time now that a lot of schools are test optional, is, should I submit my test score or not? If a school is, really it's test optional, they really don't care. It's generally a pretty easy answer. If you're, in the high part of the mid 50 or over, yes, let's send it. If you're in the low or under, let's not. Let's just go test optional as long as you have good grades. If you're a 2.0 student and you have a 1350 SAT, you're probably always going to want to send those scores, regardless of the school, because the 1350 is a much higher mark than your 2.0. But if you're a 4.0 student and you have a 1350 and you're applying to a selective school's test optional, you're probably not going to want to send it. However, as you can see right here very clearly, the admit rate can absolutely go up. Some of the more selective schools, if you are sending test scores. And the reason being, like, I'm a big fan of test optional schools. I think it's great. I wish they had it when I was applying. Could have helped. But schools still very much, it's hard to compare high schools across the country and students, in the SAT and the ACT is sort of a common denominator there. So that's why you see higher numbers. But again, it's a school by school basis. Ask your counselor to help you decide on that for sure. And higher scores can, result in some scholarship
Joe,
money as well.
Let me bust in here, and Peggy, if I
Yeah.
could, I'm going to share my screen again because we're getting a lot of questions of like, well, where can I get this information and how do I know? And I'm trying to, it's all in the software, guys. So it's in your software. And for any college that you want to look at, so if I go to click on Boston College here, right, I can see here's the average GPA, here's the average test scores, right? The middle 50%. Are they test optional or not? What is the admit rate, right? For every, let me look at a school that does good job with merit-based scholarships, right? And because we got do they stack, things like this, right? For every college in the country, we have every scholarship that they offer, the qualifications for each, and we're going to tell you how much your kid's going to get, right? And that could mean stacking if it's a regional discount or something like that. And you can fool around with stuff, right? You can fool around with your profile to say, okay, well, what if the GPA goes up? What if the ACT goes up a few points? How will that change scholarships? And those projections will populate in real time. So again, I'm sorry to bust in, Joe, but we're getting a lot of these questions of like, where can I get this information? And
Yeah.
that's our job is to have it all in one place for you.
I love it. And I'm just looking through the question. This will be very quick. I just want, maybe I didn't explain it clearly, but early decision, you can only apply to one college. Early action, you can apply to as many schools as you want. Someone reversed that in the question, so we'll make that clearer. ED, you can only do it to one because you're committing. If you don't get into ED1, you have the opportunity to ED2 at another school. Can't do it at the same school. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay, cool. So we're gonna jump into really the Common App. The Common App is what the majority of your kids will be working on. It's one application that has over 1,000 schools that use it. So you do the one common application, which is 6 sections, and you can add the colleges and begin working on their school specific questions, but there are other applications out there. So if you're applying to the UC system, so Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, you have to create the UC application. Cal State, CSU's, San Diego State University, they have their own system as well. The coalition application had some legs many years ago, not so much. So any school that's on the coalition is going to be on the Common App as well. So probably RIP to coalition. So most likely just Common App. Some schools, I was helping a student that wants to be a pilot, apply to Embry-Riddle. They have their own application. You just go to their website and create an application there. But we're going to talk mainly about the Common App since that's the most popular one. Yep, talk about that. Yeah, we can go to the next one. It's one portal for the Common App where you'll apply to, probably majority, if not all the colleges. This is what the account looks like. If you are on this call and you're either a senior or you're a parent of a senior, you should have an account created. There's not a lot of absolutes in college advising, college admissions, but right now it's almost September. Let's create an account. It's free, it's easy, Common App, and you create your account here. One question I always get, what email should I use? Does it matter? As long as your Gmail isn't like something from third grade and like super inappropriate name, use that. I say that because you may just want access to that for the next couple of years for whatever reason. Maybe you transfer, and sometimes your high school email is locked out after you graduate. But if you're using your high school email and you're like, oh no, it's totally fine. Also, it really doesn't matter. Just whatever email you're comfortable with. Yeah, and this is all easy stuff you'll walk through is when you create your account. Just make sure if you are a senior now, you're doing the one that says planning to start college in 2026. You can create this whenever. So like if you are a parent of a freshman or eighth grade, you can create an account now, which is pretty cool, and just say that you're graduating in the future, and you can start playing around with it. See what questions they ask, add some colleges, see what questions the colleges are asking. So you can definitely do it now, and then whenever your child becomes a senior, it will roll over, and then you'll be ready to go. All right, deadline, super important, whether it's, Excel, Google Sheet, a big board in your kitchen. Make sure that you have the deadlines for the 10 to 14 colleges that you're applying to. They will vary. Every student I work with, I color code our Google Sheets, and there's lots of different colors on there because we'll have October 15th for UNC, we'll have November 1st for Fordham, we'll have December 1st for Quinnipiac. We'll have January 1st for a couple of regular decision schools, and we'll have rolling. And you want to make sure that you know those and you're applying ahead of time. Also, as you're working through the applications, it's really important to look at it line by line because on the Common App, it may say, okay, you're applying regular decision January 1st, but if you want to be considered for scholarships, you need to apply by December 1st. So if you're someone that says, oh, it's January 1st, I'll do it, after Christmas, you're gonna lose out on potential scholarships there. Honors college is the same. They may have earlier deadlines. And what's really, really important, and a lot of times parents just don't know this because they're not submitting the application. When your child hits submit, that's a great time to celebrate. Awesome, but it's not the end of it. Every school within 24 to 48 hours will send to that email that you used on Common App a portal. In that portal, they can create an account for that college. And it will say, it will tell them, it will give them a checklist of everything that's there. So the application is submitted, but their transcript hasn't been submitted yet from the school counselor, or they're missing a letter of recommendation. And also, here's a scholarship. Do you want to apply for it? Here's the honors college that you checked off. You need to, complete this essay. And also it's where they sometimes will see the decision if they got into the school. More and more schools aren't sending out the paper anymore. It's just in the portal. So make sure your child knows that you're on top of that as a parent and that they have a shortcut for each of those portals once they apply on their computer. Financial aid deadlines, you guys talked about that yesterday, but one thing I'll just say, just remind everyone, October 1st, right, guys? That's when it opens. FAFSA, CSS profile, that's going to be the parents' time to shine. So just
Yeah, and I would just chime in there. What I always tell people is figure out your school that has the earliest financial aid form deadline And that means CSS and FAFSA potentially if the school requires both forms, and plan on having it done a week before, right? Then if you have a storm, we had a monsoon last night here in Tucson, something happens, you lose power, you're not stressed. Just plan on getting it done then. And then you'll meet all those deadlines. And just chiming into on what Joe Kay said about early action, most merit scholarships don't require an extra app, so you're automatically considered as the student, but they might say your application has to be in by December 1. So if you're applying regular decision, you might not have it in by then. So that's another win with early action, is just meeting most of the early action deadlines. You're satisfying the merit scholarship automatic deadline, to automatically be considered for most merit. So
Absolutely. And it's serious. Like the deadlines are serious. I had a student, I remember when I was in Manhattan at school, he was applying early action in Michigan, had everything in, applications, letters of recommendation, transcripts, but he wasn't reviewed because his test scores weren't submitted from College Board by November 1st. So they locked him out and he wasn't reviewed again until regular decisions. So make sure everything is in ahead of time. All right, so the Common App is going to look just like this when you create your account. It's super user friendly. They just changed how it looks this year. And I love it. It's really it's user friendly. The dashboard is going to show you what's been completed. What you're seeing here is every section that needs to be completed by a student. That will be seen by every college they apply to. And most of it's very just kind of direct, information that they don't have a ton of control over: profile, family, education, the classes they're taking, their grades that they already have, their test scores, their activities, and finally the writing. I know everyone will see that courses and grades there. If that lights up that you need to do it, most colleges don't require it. Some do, and it's important because if it does light up that you need to complete the courses and grade, your child needs to input every class, freshman, sophomore, junior, what the final grades are directly as it appears on their transcript and their senior courses. And that needs to be done for a handful of colleges, so just being on the lookout for that. Yeah, let's go through this pretty quickly. We don't need to talk about personal information or profile. It's pretty simple family information. This just, for family, is one thing just to be aware of is, if you're in a non-traditional family, so maybe remarried or maybe a parent has passed away, all of that will be expected to be answered accurately in here. So just make sure that you're going through that. And for parents, it will also ask like where you went to college, the year you graduated. Most of my juniors and seniors I work with don't even know the age of their younger sister. They definitely don't know, when their parent graduated from college. So they're going to need your help with that. So make sure you're sitting down with them. Education, super important here. Where they went to high school. One thing to note here, if they transferred, it will ask them that, and it will ask for a reason why. So if they transferred sophomore year to another college, it's going to bring up a required text box to explain that. Usually it's just because you were a parent's job or something else, but if it was a disciplinary reason, just make sure that you're answering it in the best way possible. All right, super important here. If you say you took the SAT or ACT, but you don't want any schools to see it, you weren't, they're just not where you want them to be, just click no there and you're done with test taken. Colleges won't ask for it, but if you do want some schools to see them or all of them, you have to say yes, and it'll ask you to, put in your SAT scores, your AP scores, and when you're going through the college applications themselves, it will ask you if they're test optional school, do you want us to review them? Yes or no. If you click no, it won't be on the application. You don't need to do anything here. It'll just disappear from that school's application. But very important to make sure everything in here is accurate, because a lot of colleges will take this at face value. And if it's wrong and you end up going there, could cause a problem. Okay. Activities. The one thing I'll say here is, or two things, you get up to 10 activities to put in. Do not feel any pressure to do 10. They did a study many years ago, and like who gets into Ivy League schools, a ton of different data points, and one was the amount of activities. And Matt, what was the answer? Out of 10, what was the average amount of activities that they put in for students
Three.
that were admitted to Ivies?
Wait, if it was 10, I put in 10.
The amount was 4 to 5, actually, to be exact. 4 to 5, 4.5 activities. Reason being is that it was 4 or 5 activities that they were super involved in. You know, students for most part won't have like a ton of time to do 10 different things. If you have 10 that you're really proud of, put them in. There's nothing wrong with it, but you don't feel like you need to. And the second, the order does matter. All right. Put what you want the admission counselor to know most about you, because these are people that are reading thousands of applications. They're tired sometimes and they may not read everything. So I always tell my student, if you only want someone to see, 3 before they move on to the next page, what are those 3 that you want at the top of the list? And then essay, we're going to end on a few notes there so we can keep progressing through here. I talked about the courses and grades already. Okay, so yeah, we'll stop here. Yeah. So that's the Common App. You do it once, every college gets it, and then you get to add the colleges. And this is what it'll look like. It'll be on the left side of the dashboard. Each school, you just click on it and you begin asking their questions. The first thing I do with every student, and I would recommend you doing it too, is add all your colleges to Common App. And then, like it says on Whittier College there, click on college information, and it's going to give you the deadlines there for how to apply. So this was last year, but fall of 2025, early action is November 15th, and then they're rolling. And then you can put that into your Google Sheet, Excel sheet, and have that listed. But every question will be here. If they have supplemental essays, it will be listed here. And you cannot apply unless everything on the left in those little circles are checked off green. Next slide. Maybe we can hop to the
Want to hop
financial
to
aid.
the
Yeah.
essays?
Yeah, let's hop the essays too. And I'll just, as we're going through slides, I'll just say that, as we mentioned, a lot of colleges will have scholarships that you can apply to. As Peggy said, the majority are you just apply to college and they'll send you some. But a lot of schools will have additional scholarships, and it'll be listed right there in the Common App. And there is also, some help with financial aid as well. All right, so the essay when here, probably the most time-consuming part of the college application process. And this is a great quote here by a former dean at Yale for undergraduate admissions. And I won't read it to you, but what it's saying is, their admission counselors are getting so much, quantitative information for each application, your GPA, your test scores, the amount of activities, all of that, is great, but none of it, shares with the person, the admission counselor, who you are as an individual, who you are as a student, and it gives them an opportunity to hear your voice. All right. They are looking to admit young adults that are going to do great in the classroom, but also be a member of their community for 4 or 5 years. And that is their opportunity to do that. The Common App personal statement, or the college essay, we can go to the next slide, is one essay that's 650 words max. So you're looking at 4 or 5 paragraphs, not super long, but it really does matter. And especially matters if, you are sort of right on the edge of getting internet. And so say you're sort of right there in the middle, they have 20 spots left, but your essay really speaks to them. It really shows how you've grown, shows you're a good writer, showcases a passion of yours, and they could really envision you on campus. Let your child have personality in this. If they're naturally funny writer and you laugh when you're reading it, that's great. That's fine. A mission counselor who's on their 95th essay of the day, if you can get them to laugh, that's a good thing. They're going to remember that. If you are, I used to teach my boot camp, my essay boot camp, this, If you're not funny, don't try to be funny in the college essay. Now's not the time. So like Matt, I would say don't try to be funny in your college essay. I can though. And how you write and the grammar, obviously, that needs to be buttoned up. No mistakes there. We're not going to get into it now. It can be a whole nother webinar, but please avoid using ChatGPT, AI. Colleges are utilizing tools to, find out if you have used it to write your whole essay. Avoid it. I know it's tempting, not worth it. Talk through this. So, yeah. Here are the prompts. I'm going to say one thing, we'll move on. The prompt doesn't matter. All right. The prompt does not matter. People get hung up on it sometimes. They're only there to help students kind of brainstorm ideas to talk about. The admission counselor is not going to read the essay and be like, okay, did he really, did he, answer number 4? No, they don't care. They're not even going to look at the prompt. Yeah, I didn't see this, but yeah, Hillary agrees. It
Yeah.
does not mean that much there. As long as your voice is coming out, your story is coming through, that is what's most important, but use the prompts to help think of an idea. But the last one, prompt choice, literally is topic of your choice, write about anything. And so some do's here, you'll get this in the recording when we send the slides, but if you are,
They'll get the recording. They don't get the slides, Joe.
never mind. Sorry, we'll get the recording. So the first one there is to answer their question asked or prompt posed. This is much more aligned with the supplemental essays, which we won't have time to get into today, but the colleges themselves will ask additional questions. Some won't, but many will. And they're asking that question, and oftentimes they're more important than the big college essay because the college themselves are asking them. So make sure you are answering that. Biggest thing that I'll leave you with here for the do's: add detail, give personal information. What we like to say, own the story. You can write about anything. You can write about gardening, riding your bike, 20 miles one day, whatever. As long as it has a ton of detail in there that makes it an essay that only you can have written, that's what matters. And that second to last bullet point, sorry, for show that you researched the college, you're going to see a lot of schools that say very simply, why us? Why are you flying here? They do not want you to, write a, bulleted biography on the school. They know their college, but what are one or two things that really attract you to that college? And, what about you connects to the school? What are a couple of personal personality traits are, your major or whatever, and really show them that you know the school and you're invested in that school.
Joe, let me break in here. Are you,
Yep.
or is there a last, do you want to wrap it in 1 minute?
No. I think what I'll just end on the essay is just for the personal statement, just have fun with it, make it your own. For the most part, it's not going to be the, be all end all. But do really put some effort into it. You're only going to do it once, and be proud of it. And moms and dads here, do not write it for your child, please.
There you go. Now look at, we're going to go a couple minutes over. I promise we're going to do this scholarship live. But first, don't overthink this, guys. Right now, what I want each of you to do, I'm going to put this link in the chat right now. Book some time right now to talk to us, okay? Because there's a couple things. Now, not everybody is some of you are DIYers, and we're going to help, point you in the right direction if that's you. But learn how we can help your family. Ask your personal questions in a one-on-one setting, right? If you want your kid to work with Joe K through this entire admissions process, so that, maximizing their odds of getting in, making sure that essay is completely dialed, making sure that you don't have to kind of drive that, talk to us, learn what that looks like. If you want us to take over the financial part of this process, talk to us, because we're also running a promotion. We're essentially going to close for the season here, but you got to book that. If you want to talk to us without any charge, you got to book that today. You don't have to talk to us today, right? You have to talk to us by the end of next week. But book that today, book that right now, and just learn how we can help you, right? That's simple. If you didn't set up your MyCap account, do that right now. Go ahead and treat yourself the $4.99 upgrade so you can see what any college in the country is going to cost you. You can sort based on who's going to give your particular student the most financial aid, the most scholarships, etc. We got a lot of test optional questions. You can literally put in the filter, show me which colleges are going to give my kids scholarships even if we don't submit test scores, right? And also have their major and are in this region, right? You can put all those types of filters in there. So don't overthink that, guys. Book some time with us right now. Actually, let me see. I'll put this actual link in here.
I did.
Okay.
It's in there.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, and you can see times are going here. But talk to us, right? That is where everybody should start the process, is talking to a professional. Like us, right? Even if you end up going the DIY route, we'll get you pointed in the right direction here. Okay,
Yeah, if you already have an account, just hit the upgrade button on your dashboard and
yeah,
you can upgrade.
yeah, this will
It'll
say
say upgrade, not talk to an expert.
you already have the premium account, but if you want to book an hour with any of us, then you hit the talk to an expert. But yeah, for most of you, if you're in the free account, you just hit upgrade here. So do that. It will be the best $4.99 that you spend, I don't know, at least this week, maybe even in 2025. Okay. What do you think, team? Should we go with this? Should we do it? Should we spin the wheel?
I'm excited. I don't know how this is going to work. So let's
You
go.
ready, gals? All right, so I got my team back here. We got Eileen and Jara. So what's going to happen is I'm going to hit go. We're going to spin the wheel. You're going to hear some, I don't know, will they hear the music? Say hi. Say hi. There we go. There we go. So there's Jara and Eileen, who figured this out, put this together. So I'm going to spin it. It's going to spin. We're going to say stop, right? And then a name's going to pop up, a first name and if somebody didn't put their name in there and it just says first name, we're going to spin it again. All right.
Do I have
Okay.
a chance? Do I have a chance at winning?
You got to change. Well, only if you follow the rules, Joe.
I did. I did.
Okay, Mary C. Mary C. Number 4859. Can we see her in there anywhere?
Ooh, I hope she's
Hopefully.
on. Hope she's
Hopefully.
on. Mary C, raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Oh,
Number
nope.
4859. Raise your hand or write in the chat, Mary C, if that's you.
I don't see a Mary C. I see a Mary P.
Ah.
This is upsetting. This is upsetting, but not upsetting for everyone else who may have a
Not
chance.
What's that? 02909. Do we have what town that is?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay, one from Northeast, Mary C from Providence, Rhode Island. Congratulations, $1,000 parent scholarship. Those kids get enough scholarship. Us parents, right in the bills, need to get some scholarships here. So congratulations, Mary C. You will hear from our team with the logistics. Now I'm going to give a tip here, a pro tip. This is an outside scholarship. Okay. Now, some colleges do, and we talked about this in the chat a little bit today, something called scholarship displacement. So if you get an outside scholarship, they will reduce your financial aid award by the amount of that outside scholarship. So sometimes there's some strategy in the timing of when we'll recommend that we actually present this information. Although, now that I'm thinking of it, I think making it a parent scholarship was a workaround.
Yeah, I
Because
think a parent
I'm a
scholarship,
genius.
the student didn't get it, so
Because I'm a
I think we're
genius.
good.
Yeah, I figured that out. Well, look at this has been an action-packed couple of days here. Peggy says this all the time, and I second her. Your main responsibility is to make sure that you stay engaged, right? So take action. Don't just show up for this day or two and just kind of again, what's the word you use, Peggy? Drift.
Drift.
Don't drift. So sign up, book some time with us today. Take advantage of that. It's a today deal. We take care of our folks that show up live. Guys, spend the $4.99 to upgrade to it's the ultimate cheat code when it comes to paying for college here. And yeah, talk to us. Let us and we'll tell you what your next best steps are for here. And you got a lot cooking, so let us help you out. Joe, great job, pal. I don't admire you, but I do respect you.
I don't
Thank-
respect or admire you. So.
Thank you. Great job. And thanks everybody. It's a great, very interactive audience, and we appreciate you all.
Have a good one, everybody.
Oh, and hey, everybody thank Jared and Eileen for all their hard work behind the scenes. You know, we got the easy part here. Bye, guys.